everyone, Jerry Bellini here. Welcome to Stitch and Story Time with a little noise in the background, and I will explain to you what that is when I get to my ya. Anyway, this week is going to be a little different. Someone asked in our comments if I would do something that would be a little bit more mindful, meditative, and got us to slow down. And so I was thinking about it and came up with this idea, which I'm going to explain to you in a second. So I've also been doing some book reviews, and I was flipping through a book by Rebecca Ringquist, and it's called Embroidery Workshops. And as I was flipping through it, doing the book review, I came across this patch that she did. And it was just a simple, patch, plain cloth. She used, I believe, all red thread. And she just did running stitches. She did it with a couple different stitches. She did running stitch, I think she did back stitch, and then she did some other stitches maybe that she uses often. But what she did that was interesting was the first line was a very thin thread. The second line was a little thicker and thicker and thicker and thicker, and so forth. And it was so interesting because you could just look at it, when you were looking for some inspiration for something, and you could say, oh, I really like the way that looks. I'm going to try that. So our inspiration scroll, we did something very similar. We made this patch that I still haven't sewn on, but I asked you to go on Pinterest, go on Instagram, and look at people's slow stitch work and pick out a few stitches that you liked, looking at, and mimic them on a little patch so that when you're sitting down to stitch, and I do my stitching at night when I'm very, very tired, and so my brain's not really working all that great, and sometimes I really don't know what to stitch. So this is little ideas that I have seen along the way and really enjoyed and never think about it when I sit down. So this is along the same lines. What we're going to do is a little different. So I want you to get a patch of cloth that is plain. I don't want it to have any distressing on it or anything. I don't want you to take away from what we're going to be doing and what you're going to be seeing afterwards. And I just took a little piece of very thin cotton, and I get a lot of my cloth from the thrift store. So this was like a curtain lining, and I just cut it up into pieces, rip it actually, and I'm going to use it as a lining. I like to stitch on 2 layers of cloth. So get yourself a nice needle and some sewing thread, and the first thing I want you to do is an invisible baste around the outside edge. And if you don't know how to do an invisible baste, I did make a 10-minute technique video. You can pop over there and see, and probably in about a minute and a half you'll know how to do it. So do that to your patch. It's ready. Now this is what we're going to do. And I wrote it all down so I could keep track of it. So I went in my sewing box and I took the threads that I use most. So these are my go-to threads. These are really basically the only threads I use. Sewing thread, embroidery floss, and pearl cotton. This one is a little bonus one. I've had this in my sewing box forever. It's a piece of silk, Japanese silk thread, and I thought I'm just going to throw it in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to start at the top and do a running stitch with sewing thread. Then the next line down is going to be 1 strand of embroidery floss, 2 strands, 3 strands, 4, 5, 6. Then we're going to jump to whatever. In my case, it's pearl cotton. Pearl cotton is size 8, 5, and 3. So the larger the number with pearl cotton, the smaller the thread. So I have it from small to large. and then I added this strand of Japanese thread. I wrote down what it was. I'm going to leave a little room on the left side of the patch to write down what threads these are. And this is going to go on my inspiration scroll. As I said, it's going to be a help when I'm sitting down to stitch and I'm brain dead. So let's get yourself prepared and we'll get started. Now, this week's video is going to be a voiceover after I finish talking to you. And we are going to talk about being more mindful, meditative, and slowing down. And we're going to also talk about perfection and how that can hinder us. So before we get started with our stitching, I just wanted to take a moment, and if you would do this with me, I know it might be a little hokey for you, but if you would just sit down in your chair, your comfy chair, and just relax, take a minute, close your eyes, and just breathe. Just breathe in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. Breathe in and out. Now, do you notice that your heart rate is slowing? Don't think about the laundry. Don't think about doing the dishes. Just think about what we're getting ready to do. We're going to do something very simple. It's a running stitch. You don't have to be perfect. You're just going to make a stitch and breathe in and out across this patch. And when you see this patch, you're going to think about slowing down, mindfulness, in and out, and just breathe. Okay, so now we have centered ourselves. We're going to get started on our project. I'm going to talk to you about being more mindful, what's involved, slowing down, and I want you to just enjoy the process. As simple as this is, you might enjoy it more than some really complicated project. It's going to slow you down. Let's get started. This is the end result, and I'm showing it to you before we actually get started. I hope you enjoy this process. I will see you on the other side. Let me start by telling you what I'm doing. I'm folding the patch in half to find the center so that as I'm stitching each line of running stitch, I'm not going to run out of room when I get to the bottom. So I went down to the center and I used the 6th thread that I had. That's my center point. And then just do the running stitch, then go back up and keep folding, and you'll see that's what I did. I just folded a little bit more and did another stitch, and everything fits on the patch perfectly. I left a little room on the left-hand side so that I could write in what threads that was. So how many threads? 1 thread, 2 threads, blah, blah. I could see that it's embroidery floss. I don't use anything fancy, so it was really quite simple. All right, now that that's out of the way, I do want to say to you, if you would like to turn off the volume on this video for the first time around and just sit in your comfy chair like I told you to. You did your deep breaths, you're feeling centered, you're relaxed, it's some quiet time. Maybe you want to put on a little soft music, or maybe you just want to sit in silence and do the simple stitches. please feel free to turn the volume off. You can always come back and listen to me when you're doing something else. Okay, now I'm going to talk about slowing down, being mindful, and meditative. But before I do, I wanted to tell you a few little stories because I know you love them. So, I'm sitting in my inner sanctum, you might say. I'm sitting in the main part of the tiny house because there's a big racket going on outside. 2 doors down, my neighbor sold her little park model about a month ago, and the people that bought it decided that they wanted a brand new house. So I thought it was kind of weird because they paid a lot of money for this, but to each his own. So they were going to have it destroyed, and it's a really perfectly nice house. So it was going to cost them some money to have it demolished. And I took an immediate liking to these people. They're about my age, and I just fell in love with the woman. So I said, would you like me? And she's never really done camping. They have a motorhome, and they came in here about a month ago when they bought this house. Fell in love with the campground, but they really don't know the ins and outs of camping. They're newbies. So I said, would you like me to see if somebody would like to have this house? Because somebody in here might want it, and they can move it. It won't cost you anything. They'll move it, and you'll have an empty lot. Well, they were tickled to death. And you might be wondering, why would I do that? Because that's the kind of stuff I do. I love to help people. So I said, no, I'd be totally on board to help you with this. So, yeah, make a long story a little short. I found somebody that was interested in the house for free. She doesn't want any money for it. You just have to get it off the lot because she's buying a new house. So it took a lot of moving parts trying to find somebody to move it. So these houses are originally brought in. They're pulled. I don't know if you've ever seen one on a highway, but they pull them and they're on wheels. And when they bring them in and they set them up, they leave the wheels on. The wheels are still under the house, but they take the front part off. It's called a hitch. They take that off, and then you get this skirting that goes around the whole outside. I'm going to insert a few pictures for you to see. But anyway, it's a whole production, right? And then a lot of times once we have these park models, we put sunrooms on them. And you saw in my tiny house tour, I have a sunroom on mine. That's a totally extra piece that somebody puts on there. You can hire somebody. Brian put mine on. They come as kits. They're really kind of cheesy, but anyway, that was a sidebar. So she has a sunroom on hers, and you have to take the sunroom off so that you can move the house. So there's a total racket going on out there, but it is so fascinating watching the process, how they take the roof off first, then they took the walls off on the sunroom. The house can be moved as one piece. So I think they're going to be moving the house today, and I do want to go out and look at it and watch them actually pull it out. I think that's going to be good fun. But anyhow, it's been super noisy, and so that's the story. All right. So the next thing I wanted to tell you is I've been working on doing some book reviews, and I sectioned them off. That's probably not the right word. But what I decided to do was I gathered a bunch of books on nature printing, eco printing, that kind of dyeing, and I did a book review on that. Then I did stitching, and then I did like 3 of them. I can't remember what the third grouping was, but I'm going to release the videos, sporadically. That was good fun, and that's how I actually came up with this idea. I saw it when I was flipping through one of the books, which I already mentioned. All right, so I haven't been sleeping real good, and It's my mattress. It's horrific. So it's a mattress that came with the park model, and I never really liked it from the beginning. I think I'm 3 years now in this house. It could be 4. I can't remember. Anyway, I always meant to get a new mattress and never did, but now I'm just not feeling so great because I'm not sleeping well. So I went out to look at mattresses. They have in these campers and park models, the rooms are so tiny, so they put these stupid mattresses. They're called shorts. So I have a queen, but it's a queen short. So I think it's like 7 inches shorter than a regular mattress. So I happen to be short myself, so it's not a big deal. Sidebar, one of my viewers thought I was very tall, and I'm only 5'2". Just so you know, I'm not tall. Anyway, so I fit I fit fine in the bed, and I'm here by myself 98% of the time, so who cares? But anyway, I went out shopping the other day to this mattress store, and I'm looking for a new mattress. Do you know they don't have any samples in the store of any shorts, and you can't just order like a really nice mattress and say, I'll take that in a short? No, they don't even make them. And with all the campers here in this community, Cape May is full of campgrounds. You would think that somebody's missing the boat here, is what I have to say. So I actually ordered a mattress on Amazon. Oh my gosh, it was so scary. But I actually called Amazon because I heard once you order these mattresses, you can't return them. So I called them and I said, I just want to make sure I can return this if I hate this. So they said I could. I have written authorization. That's the way I operate. So I can return the mattress. It's coming today. I'll let you know next week what I think of it. And the last thing before I talk about slowing down and whatnot is the baby quilt. It's coming along so nice, and I'll insert a picture. My granddaughter, Gabby, and my grandson, Ciro, are going to be getting it for their new little baby, Lila. I think they're going to love it. It's just such a happy little quilt. So, all right. Let's just talk about mindfulness and our theme for the week. And I hope you're stitching. I hope you did stitch in silence and that you're listening to this after the fact. So let's see here. I do have some notes. And I'm going to start with what is slow living. So slow living, it's a movement, believe it or not, where people decide to live a more balanced, meaningful life by slowing things down. And they stop to appreciate the world around them and the things that they have. And I love that. It goes so perfectly well with our aging creatively because we're getting older, a lot of us, most of us. And I know I have some young people here, but since we are focusing on aging, we're going to just talk about that. So it doesn't mean you're supposed to sit in a chair and just watch TV all the time. It doesn't mean that at all. Slowing down means just being more aware of what you're doing, the choices you're making, and living your life as simply as you can, and taking more time for self-care. So I wanted to start with talking about self-care. What does that mean? It could mean so many different things to each of us. So I'm just going to talk about what it means for me. So I get up at a decent hour every morning, and I have a routine that I follow. So when I'm home, I take a bath. But when I'm here at the campground, I don't have a bathtub. Well, I don't have a usable bathtub. That's a whole nother story. Sidebar. I take a nice hot shower to get my muscles loosened up. I have a thing. It's called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and it is a connective tissue disorder, and it affects your joints. And everybody's different. I have found over the years that everybody has different symptoms from this. But hypermobility, your joints are unstable. They dislocate really easily. That's what mine do. They dislocate easily, and sometimes there's a lot of clicking, and it's a problem. So over the years, I was diagnosed about 12 years ago, I guess. So I suffered with this my whole life, and dislocating things would my hips would come out, my arms actually came out of the sockets, and I couldn't really do a whole lot of things. My children were small at the time, so I was cleaning the house and vacuuming, couldn't do any of that stuff. What I discovered over the years was that I need exercise. I need to strengthen my muscles. My muscles are what holds my joints in place. It's my tendons that are loose. Okay, so now I just gave you the blah blah on my Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, so you understand. So for me, it's very important for me to keep my muscles toned. So I have to get up in the morning, take a hot shower to loosen things up, because I'm tight and I'm loose. It's such a weird combination. But I take the hot shower to loosen things up, and then I have to do strength training to keep the muscles tight, but not too tight. So it's very important for me. If I don't do that, I don't have a good day. I don't have a good life. So for me, super important. I have a nice glass of water as soon as I get up. I always drink a big glass of water. I take my vitamins, and I start my day. So what do you do? What are your routines? I have smoothies that I like to drink. They're very healthy. They have spinach in them, protein powders, blah, blah, blah. Now that I'm started, I go out and I go into my sunroom and I get ready to work on my projects, whatever they are. So self-care, whatever that looks like for you, that's super important. That's a good way to start a day. Slow living. Okay, so maybe you want to take a walk. Okay, that's wonderful. I take my walks after I eat, and they're good for my legs, and they're good for me. Sometimes if I get too tired when I'm working and I start stressing because the video's not going the way I want it to, I go outside and take a walk. Sometimes I'll sit in a chair and just do some deep breathing. So whatever you need to do to slow down, it's important. But don't slow down to the point where you're sitting in a chair watching TV. That is not what I'm saying. All right. Now, part of slow living is being more mindful. And what does that mean? It's the basic human ability to be fully present, aware of where we are and what we're doing. Okay? So, slow living helps with that. If you're not rushing around like a crazy person, and you're taking your time and you're taking a breath, you're thinking about what you're doing and where you're going, you're less likely to fall and have an accident, right? Which is important as we get older. And so many other things. I think it keeps your brain clear. When I try to do too many things at once, like this multitasking thing, they have found that multitasking is not the way to go. And my brain can only hold so much information. I have a terrible memory. And so if I'm trying to do too many things at once, forget it. So if you find yourself getting a little stressed out and you're feeling a little anxious, be aware of your breath. Take some deep breaths, sit still, maybe get out your stitching and do a simple running stitch or some slow stitching on a patch. something like that. And just be more thoughtful about what you're doing in your day. Okay. So perfectionism comes into play here too, because if you're working on a project and you're trying to make it perfect and you're getting frustrated because it's not turning out exactly the way you wanted, because in your mind it looked totally different, and now you're doing it and it's not, and you're getting frustrated. Okay, there's negative effects to trying to be perfect. So firstly, acknowledge the cost of perfectionism. Realize that by trying to make things perfect, which really, who cares in the long run, you're just torturing yourself. You really are. It's very stressful. So now you've got stress. You've got headaches maybe. Maybe you're getting stomach problems. Maybe it's causing your blood pressure to go up. It's not good. So try to acknowledge the thoughts of being perfect. What is that doing to you? Think about it, okay? I mean, in extreme cases, it can cause depression. So how are we going to get past that? Now, when you look at someone's work, or when you look at your own work, do you see only the mistakes? Maybe when you look at your own work, you see the mistakes. But let's look at other people's work. When you look at other people's work, what do you see? Do you see beauty? Do you see, does it inspire you? I guess is what I'm trying to say. And then look at it really closely. Is it really perfect? What are you drawn to? Are you drawn to free-form work? Are you drawn to things that are very geometric, very straight lines? Are you drawn to that? And why? Why are you drawn to that? Do you feel that stuff is perfect? Do you aspire to having your work be a certain way and be perfect? Okay, I'm going to tell you, throw that out the window. Really, what it's all about for us, especially us at our age, our eyes are going, our hands are shaky, we're tired, we're lucky if we can sit down and do some stitching. I want you to sit down. I tell you this all the time. It's all about the process, not the actual product. So try to think about ways to get rid of those thoughts of perfectionism. So there's a thing called, I wanted to share this, and I'm not going to get too deep into this because I'm not a therapist or an expert, but there's a thing called cognitive behavioral therapy, and it changes the way you operate. It changes the way you think about things. So if you're a perfectionist and you want to get rid of that, look into some cognitive behavioral therapy and see if you can't, as you start to have those thoughts, oh, this has to be perfect, this isn't perfect, I'm throwing this away. Think about ways around that to get out of that, because really it's all about the process. So let's see here. I haven't even looked at my notes, so I don't even know if I told you everything I wanted to tell you. But who cares? I am not a perfectionist. And I just have fun. When I make a mistake, I'm calling it a mistake. When I do something and it's not exactly what I had thought I wanted to do, I try to make lemonade out of lemons. And there are times when it just can't be salvaged. Okay, so I will toss something once in a while. But really, basically, I can always reinvent something and make it be something else. So I want you to try to do that. And I think I'm going to stop there. And I'm dying to hear what your comments are. I want to hear what you have to say about what I said. And I hope that you found the project of stitching the running stitch to be enjoyable, and I hope you found it to be pleasant. And I'm thinking about talking about decision making in one of our Stitch and Story Times, and how to deal with having made the wrong decision. Okay, making decisions is a whole conversation in and of itself, but what if you made the wrong decision? Now what do you do? So I'm going to leave it there. Keep moving. Just play. No rules. And remember to find something to be grateful for today. I am always grateful for you, as you know. So very grateful. And I'm grateful that I was able to do this recording in a somewhat quiet house. So I will talk to you again next week. Until then, I hope you do your running stitches. I would love to see them in the Facebook group, or tag me and I'll come and look. You can always send me an email. My email address is at the bottom of the description box. So, bye for now. Love you guys lots. Kisses. So my voiceover ended, and I still had more footage on my video. So I'm going to just leave it play out, and you can just let it run out if you want, or you can stop watching at this point. But you'll hear just the natural rhythm of me stitching. You might hear a little background noise from the campground. But I found this exercise to be very centering. And before I started it, I was, I'll admit, feeling a little anxious. A few things had transpired that morning, and sitting here and doing this really put me back in center. And so I hope it will have that effect for you. And I am going to do another patch and do the back stitch the same exact way, and I might even do a third one using some stitches that I like to use in my stitching process. And by varying the size of the thread, you will get different looks, different feelings. So I hope you found this helpful, and as always, I really appreciate you being here. And until next week, I will talk to you again soon.